Unbreakable, trapping cable, prisoners, surrender. The lamb chaps could scarcely believe their ears. I don't call that peaceful, said Mrs. Lambchap. Our president has been misled. I wish we had gone to the seaside. Mr. Lambchap shook his head. But how are we trapped? I don't, he pointed to the magnifying window. What's that? A thin blue line, like a thread, had been passed over the Star Scout. Stanley switched on the wipers above the big window, and the first flick of its blade parted the blue line. Drat, said the radio. Other voices rose, startled, and then the deep voice spoke again. Earth people, we're sending a message. A regular, ordinary tyrant just to show what we're like. For long moments, the lamb chop kept their eyes on the tan tree across the field. There, Arthur said suddenly. Coming toward, oh my, his voice trailed away. The tyrant message came slowly forward to stand before the big window, a muscular, scowling young man with curling mustache, wearing shorts and carrying a club. The mustache was very large. The messenger was not. That man, Mrs. Lambchap said slowly, is only 3 inches tall. At most, Mr. Lambchap said. It's a magnifying window. The tyrant seemed to be calling something. Arthur opened the door a crack, and the words came clearly. Now, afraid to let us see you, Earth? People, because I'm so enormous, huh? Huh. All tyrants are this big. Flinging the door wide, Arthur showed himself. Well, I'm a small Earth person, he shouted. The rest are even bigger than me. Not me, Mrs. Lambchop said. And don't tease Arth. Oh, he's fainted. Wetting her handkerchief with cold water, she jumped down from the Star Scout and ran to dab the tyrant's tiny brow. Cries arose again from the spaceship's radio. A giant killed Ike. There's another even bigger. Oh, gross. Look, Ike's all right. Oh, sorry, here, I'm on this page. The tyrant, by grasping Mrs. Lambchop's handkerchief, had indeed pulled himself up. Furious, he swung his club, but managed only to tap the top of her shoe. Ouch, scat, she said, and he darted back across the field. Oh my, said the radio, never mind about surrendering. Earth people, a truth committee is on the way. At first they saw only a tiny flag fluttering like a white butterfly far across the brown field, but at last the tyrant committee drew close, and the Lambchops, waiting now outside the Star Scout, could make each little person out. The flag was carried by the scowling young man with the mustache and the club. The other members of the committee, a bit smaller even than he, were a red-faced man wearing a uniform with medals across the chest, a stout lady in a yellow dress and a hat with flowers on it, and 2 older men in blue suits, one with wavy white hair and the other thin and bald. The committee halted, staring bravely up. I'm General App, shouted the uniform man, commander of all tyrant forces. Stanley stepped forward. Chief Pilot Stanley Lambchop, he said, from Earth. These are my parents, Mr. and Mrs. George Lambchop, and my brother Arthur, President of Tyra, and Mrs. Oat, said General App, indicating the wavy-haired man and the lady. The bald chap is Dr. App, our chief scientist. The grouchy one with the flag is my aide, Captain Knight. No one seemed sure what to say next. A few polite remarks were exchanged. Nice meeting you, Earth people. Such a pretty planet, Tyra. Thank you. Were you very long in space? And Mr. Lambchop realized suddenly that the tyrants were uncomfortable talking almost straight up. He got down on his knees. The other lamb chaps followed his example, and the tyrants at once lowered their heads in relief. Right, said General Lapp. All reasonable people here. A truth, huh? I'm for war, frankly, growled Captain Ike, but Stanley pretended not to hear. A truth, good idea, he said. We come in peace. Mrs. Oates sniffed. Not very peaceful, frightening poor Captain Ike. She pointed at Arthur. That giant shouted at him. My son is not a giant, Miss Lambchop said. It's just that you tyrants are, how to put it, unusually petite. Ike's the biggest we've got, actually, said General Lapp. We hoped he'd scare you. President Oak raised his hand. No harm done. Come, Tyrrville. Our captain is but a stroll away. The lamb chaps, equipped now with handy magnifying lenses from the Star Scout science kit, followed the committee. Tyrrville lay just across the brown field behind the tan trees, no larger than an Earth-sized tennis court. All right, so these people are really tiny, and the only reason why they seem even remotely bigger than they are is because they're using a magnifying glass, which is making them even bigger. So she mentioned that he was like 3 inches or something. Hold on, let me face this to me so you guys could see me. So I just wanted you guys to understand that these people are tiny, tiny, tiny. So to them, the reason why they were terrified, after they first saw, they were 3 inches tall at most, but it's through a magnifying window, so everything is made to look bigger because that's what a magnifying glass or a magnifying window will do. So they're actually tiny, tiny. Now, when seeing the lamb chop family, who are, in comparison to them, are huge. Think of 3 inches and then 6 feet tall. Okay, so 12 inches is 1 foot, and they are tinier than 1 foot. They are tinier than a newborn baby. Okay, they're like half the height of a newborn, even less than half the height of a newborn baby. So here they are. Can you understand why they're scared of the humans? Because they're tiny and their voices seem louder and their bodies seem bigger than the tyrants. So let's wait and see what happens in chapter 6. I hope you guys enjoy. I really enjoy reading to you guys.